Welcome to Brands Hatch for the final round of the 1988 Pirelli Porsche Club of Great Britain Production Porsche Championship. There are capacity grids for each of the four classes and preparations are going on in the paddock. While Tiff Needell's car's being looked at, Karen Hall talks to Tony Dron and first to Chris Millard.
Yeah, it's been really good. We've had about 4 different leaders between myself, Mike Jordan, Tiff Needell and Keith Russell. Plus a few others keep coming in there. It's been close, very close.
How surprised are you that it has been so competitive this year?
I must admit, at the beginning of the season, when we were told, you know, we're going to get a Porsche Works sort of entry, we're all a little bit sort of concerned, thinking, well, I don't know, we'll have a little race on our own, let those two carry on. But it hasn't been that way, and it's great when we've got professional guys, because if we can beat those, it makes us feel really good.
You must be feeling pretty good, sitting at the top of the table. How do you feel things are going to go for you today? Are we going to see you winning today?
Well, I don't know. If the weather stays like this, it's going to be very close, I think, because Tiff's very quick in the dry. A lot quicker than he's in the wet, anyway.
Today we've had, this is, as you said, the last round, and the grid's a little bit upset. So we're actually 5th, which I think is the equal best that we've ever had this year, because of course the pole position in the first round was a timekeeper's error that I didn't actually point out to anyone. We certainly didn't get that pole position, not by a long way. We're going much faster now. And I'm very pleased with 5th, but it took us all a bit by surprise this morning. It started off damp, and then on the 3rd lap it was just getting to be a dry line, and that's when everyone did the times, because the next lap it started to rain again, which was completely against all predictions. So we got away with it, and I'm quite pleased with being 5th on the grid. So if we can get away well, of course we shall win.
A confident Tony Dron then lines up on the outside of the second row of the grid, which forms up this way. On the front row on pole position, Chris Millard, then Mike Jordan and Tiff Needell completing that front row, while on the second row, Keith Russell in his Carrera RS and Tony Dron in his 928S. The 4 leading championship points contenders occupying the 4 leading positions on the grid. There, the man currently leading the points with 71 is Chris Millard, the jeweller from Birmingham, with his turbocharged 911. In the middle of the front row, last year's outright champion, currently 4th in the class on 61 points, is Mike Jordan. On the outside of the front row, alongside him, number 44, to signify the 944, that's Tiff Needell, 2nd in the class with 68 points. And the inside of the second row is occupied by number 11, which is Keith Russell in the background there, with 66 points to his credit prior to this final race. Here then Keith Russell, another of the amateurs, and alongside him Tony Dron, along with Tiff Needell, the 2 professionals. Chris Banks makes his way to his 3rd row grid position a little late, but the marshal is satisfied, moves away. The lights are red, and as they flash to green, the front row move off as one, with, from the middle of that row, Mike Jordan making the best initially, but it's Chris Millard who leads into paddock for the first time. The Birmingham jeweller, downhill from paddock, storms off up towards Druids, with Mike Jordan 2nd, and coming up into 3rd place already, Tiff Needell, then Keith Russell, and behind him, Chris Banks. Well, a great start for the Class A boys, but 10 seconds behind them start the Class B men. And a cracking start from the 2nd row of the grid for Paul Loads, number 105, comes up to come alongside Brian Robinson, but it's 111 Graham Leask who leads the first time. Back, however, with that Class A battle at the head of the field as they go out into the country, as we say here at Brands Hatch, and onto the Grand Prix circuit. And as they go that way, Chris Millard in the Grafton car, it is who leads. Behind him, but not challenging him as yet, is Tiff Needell, with the 2 similarly coloured 911s of Mike Jordan and Keith Russell coming up behind. Tony Dron is 5th in the 928, not getting as close to the front runners as he expected to in his pre-race interview, but there are, of course, many laps yet to go. Back through clearways they go to complete their first of 10 laps on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit here, and they've crossed the line and into paddock, and now Needell is beginning to challenge. He comes up alongside, tries to nose the edge of the 944 alongside the 911 turbo of Chris Millard, but he's unable to do so. The Class B battle for the lead is a very close one too. Brian Robinson challenging 111 Graham Leask as they go through paddock. But back with Class A, and can Tiff Needell do it this time? Yes, he's on the inside as they go out onto onto the Grand Prix circuit, and it looks as they went out of camera shot there. Here they are back with us, and it is indeed Tiff Needell now in the lead. Millard is second, Jordan is third. That trio now leading this man, number 11, Keith Russell, and beginning to drop him away from them. That'll let him back into the grip of Tony Dron. As they come under the bridge for the second time, Needell now edging out an advantage of perhaps a couple of lengths over second place man Chris Millard, with Jordan still there third, and Keith Russell now becoming, in the Pirelli liveried car, a rather lonely fourth. The tail enders from Class A are being led by 36 Andrea Savaretti, and these slower Class A cars are probably going to have an effect on the Class B battle. That is it, just coming up behind them now, and a very tough and tight battle it is too. Graham Leask and Brian Robertson swapping the lead in Class B, corner to corner, as they storm around the Grand Prix circuit here at Brands Hatch. These are the tail enders again, coming out at Clearways, with Class B just behind them. Side by side, the battle for Class B, with Leask on the inside, Brian Robertson on the outside, and keeping a watching brief on the two ahead at present, number 103, third in class, Kevin Morfitt. Cresting the rise up to Druids come the Class A boys again. Tiff Needell in the work-centred 944 still leads. Chris Millard is second, and a bit of a sideways move for him there, with Mike Jordan maintaining that third place, not being dropped by the two ahead of him. They go along Cooper Straight, through the left-hander, once again out onto the Grand Prix circuit. Needell seeming to be able to fend off any challenge that the turbocharged car of Chris Millard can offer. Proudly carrying the number 1 to show champion status from last year, Mike Jordan follows the two ahead of him as the cars go very light through the new Dingledale corner here at Brands Hatch, built during last winter to slow speeds down a little on the Grand Prix circuit. We just caught a glimpse there of Tony Dron still lying in 5th place behind Keith Russell. Russell himself, number 11, is rather closer to third place Mike Jordan on this lap, so perhaps he's edging closer to the leaders, perhaps to offer a challenge. After all, he's had a lonely lap or two, which has enabled him to perfect his lines and perhaps make up the odd split seconds that are so vital in the close world of Pirelli Porsche racing. Running out over the curbing and the rumble strips on the exit of paddock there is Tiff Needell. Obviously he's aware of Chris Millard behind him, and obviously he feels that Millard is putting him under some pressure. In that interview before the race, Chris said how exciting it is for someone like him, a businessman during the week and a racer at the weekends, to be able to race against the professionals. Tiff Needell himself, of course, a former Grand Prix driver and a regular in the World Sports Prototype Championship too. Many, many hours and many, many years of racing expertise behind the wheel of that 944. But Chris Millard, a jeweller during the week, is managing to stay with him. Chris Millard, as you can see now, beginning to learn a little from Tiff Needell ahead of him, using the curbing on the corners of Dingledale there to try and narrow that gap first to second place. Through Clearways they come, now the leading two having pulled out quite an advantage over third place Mike Jordan. And it looks to me as though Jordan may well be in trouble, because Keith Russell is a lot closer to him than he has been on the previous laps. But talking about being in trouble, we've got a Class B problem here. Paul Edwards in number 101 closest to the camera, and behind him Mike Osqui, number 104, seem to be locked together on the curbing at Druids there. They've got themselves unlocked, and as they go down Graham Hill towards Graham Hill Bend, they're in the order 101 Edwards and 104 Osqui, and as they go through Surtees Bend onto the Grand Prix circuit, you can see that 104 Osqui there is showing some damage to the car. He will almost definitely be a retirement before the lap is out. He's also likely to be lapped before the lap is out too, because here comes the race leader approaching Surtees now. Still it is number 44, Tiff Needell, now with an advantage of some lengths, about 10 lengths or so, let us say, over the second place man Chris Millard, and not looking as though he's going to come under any pressure. Jordan there, 3 wheels hopping through Surtees in his attempts to hold off that strong challenge now from 4th place Keith Russell. Here's that battle for 3rd place. Is Keith Russell through? No, he isn't. Mike Jordan somehow is still managing to fend off Keith Russell. I'm not sure how he's doing it, because that is real pressure under which the reigning champion is coming. Back with the leader though, no pressure at the moment for Tiff Needell. He worked hard in the early laps to build up a cushion between himself and second place man Chris Millard, and that is now paying off. As you can see, his advantage is about a third of the length of the pit straight here at Brands Hatch as he crosses the line and approaches paddock once again. This isn't quite the sort of close racing that Pirelli Porsches are famous for, as Chris Millard is now the full length of the straight between Paddock and Druids. The disadvantage he has in second place doesn't look as though he's going to be able to do anything about it. These two cars, of course, show two very distinct eras in Porsche engineering. The 944, which is leading the race at the moment, a front-engined car, and of course the 911, better known, I suppose, as a 930, for that is the official denomination of the turbocharged 911, a rear-engined car, and very much more of a handful, particularly with its immense power, on a Grand Prix circuit such as Brands Hatch. Nidell, as you can see, still bouncing all over the curbs in his efforts to make sure that the cushion between himself and second-place man doesn't change. The battle for Class B, with three-wheeling 911s coming through Surtees, has changed, with the leader of Class B now number 125, Brian Robertson. Here he is, with in second place behind him number 111, Graham Leask, who had led the class up to this point. The blue flags waved there by the marshal indicate to slower runners that there are faster cars behind them, but the fastest car on the track at the moment is the Porsche 944 of Tiff Nidell, leading this race from now with his headlights ablaze. In second place, Chris Millard, just having lapped their number 122, Gordon Wingrove. The next cars to lap him will be the men battling for third place in Class A, Mike Jordan and Keith Russell, and as they come into our sight, it's Jordan who leads this battle for third from Keith Russell at present, but Russell is putting him under a lot of pressure still. Less than a couple of 911 lengths in it as they go through the tight right-hander at Druids. Millard, even on three wheels with this powerful 911 turbo, goes through Surtees as we have more problems at Druids. Seems to be the corner that's catching everyone out this weekend. Between 16, Richard Cabin, and 37 there, that was Roger Payne. Those two getting themselves into all sorts of naughty business and out of shape, but both of them continuing without any damage to their cars. On the final lap now, as the car goes light once again through that new Dingledell complex, is race leader Tiff Nidell. He has less than half a lap of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit yet to go. One or two tail enders just to keep an eye on. Chris Millard still holding on to second place, still with his headlights ablaze. But the man of the day in Class A of the Pirelli Porsche Championship has very much been Tiff Nidell, and he already acknowledges the praise of the crowds as he waves to the man with the checkered flag. Also waving there is Chris Millard, the man who finishes in second place and who led this race in the early stages until he was passed by Nidell. The battle for third place rages right down to the flag. They're virtually side by side as they come across the line, but the results will show that Mike Jordan finishes third and Keith Russell fourth. Class B has been fought out throughout this race as well, and across the line comes number 125, Brian Robinson, to be the winner of Class B, a couple of seconds ahead of the second place man in class, number 111, there he is, Graham Leask. Confirmation of the results then: first 44, Tiff Nidell, second 4, Chris Millard, third 1, Mike Jordan, and Class B winner 125, Brian Robinson. After the presentations, Tiff Nidell, garland around his neck, joins the other front runners from that exciting event on the back of the Brands Hatch Ford Sierra to take the applause of the crowds on a lap of honour. Karen Hall talked to the 1988 Class A champion.
Congratulations, Tiff. Good win. Been quite an exciting race.
Yes, there was, after the practice session that was wet, I was rather concerned as I was about 4 seconds a lap slower than Chris, but the car went very well in the dry and I managed to overtake both Jordan and then Millard down the inside out to the Graham Hill bend and managed to just keep the pressure on and keep away from them.
Not quite quickest off the grid, were you? Why is that?
No, the rain doesn't quite suit the 944 as much. The 911's got their great big lump of engine right over the driven wheels, and of course that gives them fantastic traction in the wet, whereas the 944 is a bit skittish, but in the dry it's beautiful.
Ending on a high note, you must have had a good season this year.
Yes, it's been a very, very good year, but it's been very competitive. It's quite taken me by surprise in a way, and the great battle between BF Goodrich and Pirelli and the 944s against the 911s, and it's been almost like sort of a professional series, and I think that's really what it is in terms of more professional series than I thought it was going to be.
Welcome to the final round of the 1988 Pirelli Porsche Club of Great Britain Production Porsche Championship, and the competitors go to the Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch in Kent. Before the Class C and D race, we spoke about practice to Peter Tyson, marketing manager of Pirelli.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm fairly pleased. As long as nothing untoward happens today, I should end up third in the championship. But if I miss that, I'll probably be fourth. And I'm pretty pleased with that, considering, you know, I've got to look after all sorts of other things besides get on with the racing. So
In Class C this year, are you thinking of maybe moving up next year?
no, I think I'll stick with Class C. I've got a nice little car that's competitive. It doesn't need any money spent on it for another year. So I think discretion is the better part of valor.
So what about your predictions for the overall winner of the championship here today?
Well, I think it's going to be between Mike Pickup and Mickey Phillips, almost certainly. They're both on Pirelli, which has got to be good news. I think Mike Pickup's probably the favourite because he's ahead at this moment in time. But you know, anything can happen in a motor race, so you know, really it's wide open. It's a bit like a lottery.
Mick, last round of the championship today, back at Brands Hatch. How are things going for you?
Not very well. Got a bit of a cold. Tried to drive very steady into the first hairpin and went straight in the gravel. And thankfully, 25 beefy marshals lifted the car up and chucked me back on the track, or else that would have been my day over and done with.
So any damage to the car?
No, it's just full of gravel.
Well, sitting at the top of Class C at the moment with a good chance of taking the overall championship honours as well. How confident are you that you can be up there and win?
Not very confident, really. First in class and second overall will do me fine. I think my Pickup's got too big a lead. It means me coming first, winning the fastest time, and him coming less than third, which I doubt he's going to do, unless he has an accident, and I wouldn't wish that on him anyway.
Mike, last round of the Pirelli Porsche Championship, sitting pretty, possibly for overall championship honours. How are things going?
Fantastic, yeah. I've had a practice which was a little bit tight in because I'm frightened of going into the sand and not qualifying. So I don't think I've qualified on pole, but you know, it's just looking good for the race, I hope.
You are sitting at the top of the table, as I've said. It's been a good championship for you. What has been the high point in the season?
On or off the circuit? Zandvoort, definitely. I think the 50 of us went over to Zandvoort again this year, and the Dutch people really look after us, and the Dutch club look after us, and we have a real smashing time over there. Yeah, very good.
Well, the 10-lap race for classes C and D will finally settle the destination of the Pirelli title. On the grid, on the front row, 204 Mick Phillips, 222 Barry Robinson and 206 Robin Gray. Behind them on row 2, numbers 202, Jose Merca, a good position for him, and 225 David Lees. Pole position is 204 Mick Phillips. Looks as though he's got the gravel out of the car. In the middle of that row, Barry Robinson, who's been very quick, particularly at Birmingham this year, we remember him. And on the outside of that row, there's 206 Robin Gray, the former production sports car racer, returning to racing after a bit of a layoff this year. Jose Merca, 202, is on the inside of row 2 in his left-hand drive 911. And alongside him, 225, that's David Lees in the Par Garage entry. In the background, 211, Peter Tyson on the outside of row 3, but the lights are already red, the engine notes rise, and as they flash to green, pole position man creates a lot of tyre smoke. That's Mick Phillips, and I don't think that's going to help him, because Barry Robinson from the middle of the front row has come storming up to take the lead as they go into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. A 10-lap race on the 2.6-mile Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Up to the right-handed hairpin at Druids. All these cars very closely matched indeed. Robinson already being caught. Pole position man Mick Phillips got himself back together. Up into third is now 225 David Lees. Robin Gray, who was second at the previous corner, already knocked right back down to 5th place. This is going to be a close one. Barry Robinson leads. Second is poleman Mick Phillips. Gray now back up to 3rd place. A lot of chopping and changing. And there is Bob Watson, one of the front runners in this series for many years, just outside that leading battle at the moment, lying there in 6th place. Through the new Dingledell complex at Brands Hatch, remodelled during last winter, where the cars go very light indeed. You have to concentrate very hard to make sure you keep on the straight and narrow. Off the Grand Prix circuit, though, back into the view of the natural arena that is the Brands Hatch short circuit here. Along comes this battle for Class C, with Barry Robinson still the man to the fore in car number 222, leading with being challenged, though, as they come across the line, and the lead is going to be taken by poleman Mick Phillips. So 204, Phillips goes into the lead, snatches it away from Barry Robinson's grip. But you may have noticed that there seems to be a problem with the bonnet there on Mick Phillips's car, which looked as though it was flapping open as he came across the line. It's closed down again under braking for Druids. That may be a problem to be watched for later in the race. Great battle for third place as well behind those two, as very sideways indeed goes Phillips, keeping himself ahead of Barry Robinson. There's Peter Tyson now, the man from Pirelli who not only signs the cheque for the championship, but also races in it himself. He's just outside that leading group in about 8th place at the moment. These Class C cars are more evenly matched, it seems, than the other 3 classes in the Pirelli series, and have always provided superb racing throughout the season. Barry Robinson, the early leader, now in 2nd place, but being challenged even for that 2nd place as they come up to the line to complete their 2nd lap. Mick Phillips now looking much more confident. Robinson 2nd, Watson 3rd, and there's a challenge for 4th place as the man who held it as they crossed the line, Mauro Delandreni, loses that 4th place to David Lees. And running out and over the curbing onto the old Grand Prix circuit there at Paddock Hill Bend, that was Barry Robinson. Now, if he keeps doing that, Barry's going to get into trouble, because that's the sort of thing that the observers will be looking out for. It's not intentional cheating, of course, but if he runs wide over that curbing, it is considered by some people to be dangerous. Up into 3rd place now has come David Lees. He's driving a real cracker of a race, picking up 2 places within half a lap. Back at Dingledell, Phillips leads. Car goes light, as you see once again, bouncing across the curbs to make sure that he keeps ahead of the challenge there from Barry Robinson. Bob Watson in 3rd place now. 4th is now Mauro Delandreni, so once again we've had a change, as there we have a spinner, which is 217, Jim Martin, just at Surtees Bend there, and the left-hand drive 911 gets himself back on the road, but no, he's off on the grass again. He's really making a mess of this, but now he's got himself back on the straight and narrow and off up towards the Grand Prix circuit. That'll have cost him half a dozen places or so, though. Leader crosses the line again. Still it is Phillips, and a terrific challenge for 2nd place now as Bob Watson dives down the inside of Barry Robinson and claims 2nd place now to give chase to Mick Phillips. Robinson running even wider on this lap than he did on the previous lap there at Paddock Hill Bend. Almost definitely this is going to cause a bit of a problem, but it's got him up into 2nd place again. Watson down to 3rd, Parr 4th, Delandreni 5th, and Peter Tyson and Robin Gray battling there for 6th place, and Tyson losing out as they go through Druids. Once again, though, the positions change, and Tyson's got a bit of benefit there coming down Graham Hill Bend, and he's gone up into 4th place. What a superb race the Class C runners in the 1988 Pirelli Championship are putting on. And they're off the circuit, that's 214, which is Mike Parks. Another one to fall foul of the Grand Prix circuit here at Brands Hatch. Doesn't look as though he's going to be able to get the car going either. Lots of excitement here at Brands Hatch. See his wheels spinning as he tries to get off the grass. Remember, we've had a damp day here at Brands, so the grass is still wet, even though the circuit's dried out. Another spinner here. This is 327, one of the Class D runners, Tony Schultz. He's doing it at Surtees. We've seen accidents there already today, but he gets himself back together a little more tidily in his left-hand drive Carrera Targa. Here, though, the battle for the lead of Class C and for the outright victory in this race, the final round of the Pirelli Series. Phillips it is who still leads, but Watson is 2nd. 3rd is David Lees, now having a real storming run, and 4th is Peter Tyson. Robinson's been waved the black and white crossed flag. That's an indication of a naughty boy behaviour, such as we saw there when he ran wide at Paddock Hill on the previous 2 laps. But he's made a mistake. He's gone into the pits because he thinks he's going to be severely reprimanded in the pits. No, he isn't. It was just a warning flag, so sadly he's out of this lead battle. The lead currently now in the hands of Bob Watson. There's Mick Phillips, the man who was leading earlier on, number 204. He's down to 3rd place. Peter Tyson's going to try and challenge him for that 3rd place. And 2nd is David Lees, number 225. These 4 you could cover with a pretty large blanket as they go through Surtees, back out onto the Grand Prix circuit again as Tyson challenges for that 3rd place. In the excitement of watching Class C, we'd nearly forgotten about Class D, and the leaders just changed there. The man who held it in the early laps, 302 Peter Bowden, lost out there at Druids to 301 Dave Lentil, but he's not going to give up easily, and he's challenging as they're going along Cooper Straight, approaching the left-hander at Surtees once again. Mike Pickup currently lies third in Class D, but cannot get onto terms with these two. But see what a strange line he takes there, 3:02, which is Peter Bowden as they go through Surtees. Can't understand a strange line like that, and it cost him dear. Well, here's the quartet battling for the lead, but no longer are they a quartet. They're now just a trio. Bob Watson, number 201, leading there, lapping one of the back markers as they go along the pit straight. 2:25 in second place in Class C is still David Lees, and third in the class now is Peter Tyson. So out of that terrific battle, we've lost Mickey Phillips. Well then, we've got problems galore for the front runners in Class C, but look what a superb battle they're putting on. Ducking for the inside as they come up towards Druid. This time goes David Lees, and Lees snatches the lead of Class C and the overall lead in this race. Bob Watson, however, in 2:01, fighting back as they come down Graham Hill, into Graham Hill Bend and along Cooper Straight. Now, though, the leader pulls out perhaps a couple of lengths advantage as they lap one of the much slower 924s there, and Bob Watson challenges on the inside at Surtees, can't quite get alongside, as once again, not for the first time in this race, 3:27, Tony Schultz is having a spinning time. This time, though, Schultz is having trouble getting his car started. There goes Barry Robertson past him, out of the points now after that visit to the pits. As into the pits goes Mick Phillips, the early leader in 2:04. Sadly, Phillips has got problems with his gears. Out of the car, good Lord, he's getting out of the car now, Tony Schultz, sprinting across the track. The marshals get him well out of the way into safety, but we're back with the leaders. And this time, Bob Watson, number 201, as they've been lapping the back markers, has been able to make good use of them, and he's pulled out something of an advantage. The most comfortable lead anyone has so far had in this final round of the Class C battle in the 1988 Pirelli Production Porsche Series. There, onto his last lap then, goes the leader, number 201, Bob Watson, and it looks as though he's going to have few problems. The marshals at Brands Hatch have got one or two problems, like moving recalcitrant motor cars out of the way. This is the Tony Schultz Cabriolet, which is being moved back to a position of safety. Down Graham Hill for the last time goes race leader Bob Watson. His advantage a comfortable one now as we look back briefly at Class D to see that 3:01 Dave Lentle is back in the lead of Class D, having reclaimed it from Peter Bowden in the 924, to whom he had lost it a few laps ago. Bob Watson in second place, 2:25 still David Lees. But under the bridge and through Clark Curve for the final time comes the man who, after such a terrific battle in the early laps of this final round, dominated the race. Number 201, Bob Watson. Second place from his second row grid position is David Lees. There's the checkered flag, acknowledged by the race winner Watson. Lees crosses the line in a lonely second place. Third is 210 Mauro Del Aldreni, but there's a terrific battle for fourth just as they come to the line. Robin Gray snatching that fourth place from Peter Tyson. In Class D, a relatively comfortable win there for 3:01 Dave Lentle in his 911, with 3:02 second the 924 of Peter Bowden. Third in that class, 3:11 Mike Pickup. Confirmation of the result: first 2:01 Bob Watson, second 2:25 David Lees, third 2:10 Mauro Andreni, and the Class D winner 3:01 Dave Lentle. A lap of honour then for the front runners in the exciting final round of the Pirelli Porsche Series. Afterwards, we spoke to the 1988 Class D and outright champion Mike Pickup.
Mike, congratulations. How does it feel to be winner of the Pirelli Porsche Championship?
Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely marvellous. A little tear going to paddock on the last, or the slowing down lap, and nearly forgot the brake going into paddock. But yeah, absolutely marvellous. I mean, it's superb to follow such great people like Mike Jordan and Paul Edwards and Bill Taylor. It's lovely. Really.
Were you worried at any point that you wouldn't quite make it into the top three?
Yeah. I think just for 10 laps. I think that was all. I was worried about it, yeah.
Then you made it and you're up there and very pleased.
I am absolutely knocked out. I'm going to have a good celebration now, and the boys have been fantastic, and just coming and seeing the checkered flag and seeing them hanging over the wall, cheering, jumping up and down, it's great.